They should not stand in the wisdom of man, but stand in the power of God. They should not stand in the wisdom of man, but stand in the power of God.
G'day. Today I'd like to talk about some thoughts from Psalm 37. There's some beautiful things in here. It was one of the first scriptures I really connected with, I suppose, in my walk in the Lord, and I think it has a good grounding. It gives you some good principles to live by here. It starts off in verse 1, Psalm 37, "To fret not thyself because of evildoers, neither be thou envious of the workers of iniquity." And here it's talking about fretting not. It gives us one thing not to do, and that is to fret. There's many scriptures about this. Being not afraid, being not anxious. It serves no purpose to us. So it's good for us to put those things aside. But it's hard to put something aside if that's all you're focusing on. So fortunately, the Lord gives us some instruction on things to actually do. And in verse 3, it says, "Trust in the Lord and do good. So shall you dwell in the land, and verily you shall be fed." Rather than worrying about what others may be doing or comparing yourself or whatever the case may be, trust in the Lord and do good. Think of the good that you can do in your life and follow those things. And the number one good thing we can do as Spirit-filled people is trust in the Lord. Trust in His Word. Heed His commandments and so forth. And there's also the promise of that He will provide for us and look after us, spiritually in all these ways. And then in verse 4 it talks about delighting yourself in the Lord. "Delight thyself also in the Lord, and He shall give thee the desires of your heart." And it's good for us to delight in the Lord. And I think many of us have that first delight in the Lord when we first receive the Holy Ghost. He fills us with the Holy Ghost. We know because we've spoken in tongues as a sign. And it's, wow, God is real. This is incredible. And there's a bit of delight there. And, and as we walk on in the Lord, He just blesses us. And it's good for us. It gives us the desire of our heart. If our desire of the heart is to follow the Lord, then, those blessings follow. And in verse 5, it says, "Commit your way unto the Lord. Trust also in Him, and He shall bring it to pass." We're talking about trusting in the Lord and doing good and delighting in the Lord. But here it's telling us to put it into action, to commit our way to the Lord. Not just to say, yeah, I trust the Lord, I believe God is great, but actually to act upon those things and walk in faith and do these things. And He will bring those things to pass. And the wonderful thing is, He will bring forth our righteousness in verse 6 as the light and our judgment as the noonday. As we live a life, by these principles, trusting in the Lord, doing good, delighting in the Lord, committing our way to the Lord, our righteousness will shine forth, our testimony will shine forth. And that is, not to be held in thrall of our circumstance or anything like that. There's Paul in prison, singing songs, and he was, set free. The jail doors opened. His righteousness shone in that situation. But then also there's Stephen, who was stoned to death. And his righteousness shone in that situation. He wished, he hoped that his persecutors would be forgiven. His righteousness shone. So regardless of what happens in our circumstance in our life, if we follow these principles, our righteousness will shine. And as the noonday. And these things are good for us. It stops us focusing and worrying about the things we might have or might have not. It focuses on things that we can do, we can control. And finally, in verse 7, rest in the Lord and wait patiently for Him. And again, it says, fret not. Anyway, I hope there's some good thoughts there. Please, give them some consideration and just dwell on the things of the Lord. It's a good thing for us to do, and let them just swirl around there in your mind and meditate upon them. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.
Wisdom of man, but stand in the power.